Hello, 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 loves. Happy, why am I like this Wednesday? Okay, so this would be nice if it was a cocktail, but mom life, like I can't have a drink before I have to do mom duties. So I'm going to pour myself some water in here because I don't want to have this big old bottle right in front every single time I want to take a drink. So, hello. How are we? How has our week been? Did we watch last week about trying to be a perfectionist and why it has to do with our childhood and protecting our energy? So this week I kind of just wanted to wing it. I have my little handy dandy computer here in case I want to Google why am I like this. But I'm thinking I want to talk about what are the things that I have run into this week. Or today. Perfect example. Today I had a very busy schedule. And I think I manifested that things were just not going to go right, or I wasn't going to be able to get everything done. And somehow that ended up being the case. I felt great, like very productive right when I woke up, and I got the laundry, I folded a load, I was able to organize a few things, got in the shower, worked out at home, and I don't work out at home. I do not like working out at home. I'm not sure how you are, but it's just not my thing. It's not my thing. Made myself something to eat because I never eat. And then left for my appointment, which I thought was at 11:30, but it was at 11:20. So I got there at 11:30, and then it has a doorbell on the door. And I rung the doorbell, and somehow right next to it in bold, it said door is unlocked. I didn't read that until 6 minutes in. I was just sitting there seeing this blue circle on the doorbell and nobody responding. And the other few times that I've gone there, we've needed to use the doorbell. So needless to say, I went in and she was like, let me check with the doctor to see if he'll still see you. Can we guess what the answer was? No, we had to reschedule. So now this is my third time scheduling because I missed the first one because of course I thought it was at 2 o'clock and the appointment was at 12 o'clock. Dude, I'm dyslexic, but I don't think I've ever messed up like numbers like that. Excuse me. Anyways, when I left there, I felt a little discouraged and a little upset. And then I thought, okay, I have a little interview that I have at 1:15 when I get home. So I got home at like 12:30. Started to get a few things done. No appointment. The last message her and I corresponded with each other was 1 o'clock to 1:15, and I said, okay, perfect, because it was going to be one of those times. Excuse me. I haven't heard from her, so it doesn't look like that's going to happen right now, which is fine. Maybe I just needed to get dressed today. Maybe the universe was telling me, get dressed, feel pretty, and be productive with the things around your house. The thing is, I can't help but be angry and annoyed that my day also consisted of these two things happening and they didn't happen. So I wasted time doing other things to work around those things, and those things ended up not happening. So now I'm being hard on myself and I'm really angry, and I have to figure out how to let it go because it is what it is. Like, it is what it is. You can't change it. I cannot change it. I can't control it. It happened. It didn't happen. But somehow for me, letting things go is really hard. And I think this goes back to control issues. Those situations, excuse me, those situations, although from a different perspective were in my control ended up being taken out of my control. Like, had I paid attention to the text message they sent me yesterday, I would have realized that the appointment was at 11:20. Why? I just looked at it and I was like, yeah, I know, I'll be there tomorrow. And I assumed that it was 11:30 when it literally said it in the text message. I don't know. So then I start to think, why do I put so much on my plate? Like, why? Why is it that I set myself up for failure? So let's do this. This is how it made it easy for me the last time, okay? Let's see. Let's Google. Right here. Okay. Why do I set myself for failure? It's already in there. Have I done it before? People may set themselves up for failure because they have a fear of failure. I do fear failure, like a lot. I fear failure so much that it has kept me from doing things that so many people have told me I'm naturally good at. This. Doing a YouTube about my mental health and talking about my struggles and how I'm working on it. I have had so many people tell me, why don't you do a YouTube? Why don't you do a podcast? Why don't you talk about your struggles and what it is that you're going through? So many people could relate. And I was like, okay. First, I wanted the perfect camera. First, I wanted the perfect lighting. Then I wanted to be skinny. Then I wanted to look the part. Then I wanted to be appealing to everybody. And that day hasn't come. I'm using my phone. I'm using an old ring light. And I haven't lost weight. I've lost like 6 pounds, but not the amount of weight that I wanted to lose before I put myself on camera. And then a friend of mine told me, stop trying to be perfect and just do it. And I'm here and I'm doing it. But every single time I do it, there's that doubt. There's that hesitation. There's that I have confidence being in front of a camera. I have confidence talking about mental health issues or my mental health and what I do to work on it. But I still fear failure. And I think that I should look at it as, did you record yourself? Did you help anybody with your recordings? I've already been told by 2 different people that I have. That is my goal. So is it failure? I think I put myself in a certain category where it's like, if I don't get to this point at this time, I failed. But who created that timeline? Me. Why did I create it? Did I create something that was unrealistic? Most likely. So I struggle with failure a lot. And when I stop to think about it, honestly, I feel like I have failed in every aspect of my life. I'm not where I want to be financially. I'm not where I want to be mentally. I'm not the parent that I wanted to be to my children. I'm not who I want to be visually. I'm not at a weight that I would feel comfortable with. I'm not as physically active as I used to be and enjoyed being. I don't have that career that I thought I would have by now. I don't live where I want to live. my relationship with my partner, with my husband, is good, definitely in a better place than it was before. But sometimes I feel that I have failed myself because I allowed a lot of unhealthy, toxic chaos in my relationship for so long. Excuse me. That I failed myself in allowing it. And then I also second guess, am I still failing myself because I stayed in that relationship? Although who the person is that I'm with now, and at least for the past 5 to 6 years, is literally the person I always knew that he could be. So you can't help but have like a little bit of resentment, because I think to myself, like, I should have set boundaries earlier. I should have left earlier. I should have stood my ground earlier, and I didn't. And I allowed very, very unhealthy things in our relationship. And now we're in this amazing place, but there's still a little bit of resentment. Like, why couldn't you be this before? Why did I have to suffer so much? So there's a fear, or not a fear, but there is a feeling of failure, because what if I would have set my boundaries earlier? Would I have suffered so much? You know, I failed myself. So yeah, that is definitely a problem that I have. So let's go to the next one before I get like emotional. They have an unrealistic assessment of their own abilities. Okay, see, I think that's where a lot of us run into problems. Okay, so example, it's saying an unrealistic assessment of their own abilities. I know I can get to my appointment on time. I know that I could do my makeup and my hair before my appointment so I can reach my other appointment and be here on time. Those were on time. I knew I could do that. But at the same time, I know that I'm a perfectionist. And I know that no matter how fast I wanted to do my makeup, it wasn't going to be done in 15 minutes. It took like 35. So did I set myself up for an unrealistic expectation of my abilities? Yeah. Because I should have known that I couldn't finish it in 15 minutes. I should have known that everything I wanted to do before a certain time, knowing who I am, wasn't going to happen. And even though I know who I am, I always feel like this time I'm going to get it. This time I'm going to do it. This time I'm going to prove to myself that it isn't unrealistic expectations that I set for myself, that I am capable of doing it. But do I continue to set myself up for failure because I'm able to deal with failure better than achieving it? Or being realistic and telling myself, don't set yourself up for failure? I don't know. That's a good question. Do you have the answer? Because I'm still working on that one for me. They don't make a plan. Huh? I made a plan. That was a plan, wasn't it? I laid out everything I was going to do. I laid it out in the order that I wanted to do it. Was that not a plan? Okay, that could probably fall under a realistic plan. Make sense? Like I didn't make a realistic plan. I'm going to go with that. They make loopholes for themselves. don't know what that means exactly. Well, isn't a loophole like making an excuse? That's probably what I've done since the very first one that I read. Making excuses. Or the loophole in, I don't know. Okay, they set unattainable goals. It is important to understand that failures are a natural part of developing, and that behaviors are well established and hard to alter because they have been hardwired in our brains over a long period of time. There we go. Right back to childhood. I don't know. I mean, I know it's from my childhood, but I'm trying to think, like, I used to see my mom in her brain when she wasn't, you know, under the influence or anything. She would set these goals, and I would see in her face and in her eyes how badly she wanted it and how proud of herself whenever she did accomplish it or even get close to accomplishing it. She felt so good about herself. But sometimes I remember listening to the things that she would say, and I was like, holy cow, you're going to do all of that? Okay. Good luck with that. And usually it wouldn't all get done. But I never paid enough attention to see if that's when she would go back to doing drugs. Like, I never even thought about it until right now. Because I do know that when I have spoken to her about her addictions and stuff, it was easier to be under the influence than it was to face your failures. Which I don't know, because even when I've had a drink or I've had too much to drink and my brain thinks about all my failures, it doesn't matter whether I'm under the influence or I'm not, I'm still constantly thinking about my failures. So I don't know if there's a difference with addiction and people who are not addicts, because I don't drink all the time. I don't drink a lot at all. I've drank once in a month. Before that, it was once in a month. And every few months I'll have a drink, but I don't drink often at all. So my brain is kind of the same, and I don't get buzzed or drunk or haven't for years because I refuse to put that much alcohol in my body. So maybe, I don't know. That's a good one. I do feel really bad for addicts because they probably have those same issues and they set themselves up for failure, and they have unrealistic expectations of themselves, which is why they constantly turn back to the addiction, because it helps numb that feeling of failure. Or if not, yeah, numb it. Makes you forget about it temporarily. Okay, so it's natural to feel like you're setting yourself up for failure sometimes. According to a Psychology Today article, people often set themselves up for failure because of their critical inner voice. This voice can be very persuasive and can make you feel like you're not good enough to achieve your goals. It's important to recognize this voice and try to ignore it as much as possible. Another reason why people set themselves up for failure is because they have an unrealistic assessment of their own abilities. It's important to set realistic goals and to be honest with yourself. That's what it is. Be honest with yourself about what you can and cannot do. If you set goals that are too difficult, you're more likely to fail. Okay. There we go. See, I love Google. I love my therapy sessions. I love Google. I love finding things out about myself so I can better understand myself. Now, a question, I think I've had this question answered before in my therapy sessions. Where, hold on, what happened to me as a child that makes me set myself up for failure? That's what I want to understand. I mean, I think I kind of know the answer, but let's check. 25 signs you grew up feeling invalidated. Ooh, so that's what it is. Okay, so I always try to make sense out of things. So I was thinking that I set myself up for failure because I witnessed it and I saw people do that. But I don't remember as a child, at least when I was with my mom's side of the family, not with my father's side. But I don't have any bad memories with my father besides what my father did to me. And from what my aunts have told me, my grandmother treated me like a golden child, the same way my dad was being treated. So I think everything I did was praised no matter what. And same in my mom's side of the family. So I never saw that. But I grew up with my feelings invalidated that happened a lot. Okay. You were told you were too emotional. My grandmother never told me I was too emotional. My Aunt Madeline never told me I was too emotional. But my cousins did tell me that I was too emotional. Like, I would get my feelings hurt really easily when I was around them. And then if I told my grandma, then they would get in trouble, or they'd get in trouble by their parents, or my grandmother would tell their parents and their parents would tell them something. So then I was like shunned and made to feel like a tattletale or a spoiled brat or somebody who didn't get their way, when in reality it was just my feelings being hurt. And I couldn't understand, like, why can't you just be sorry that you were mean to me, and can we just get past it? But they're still like that. So not everybody gets therapy, or has parents teach them that everyone has different emotions and their emotions should not be invalidated. They should be respected and understood, and whether you agree or don't agree, you should still be able to empathize with that person, if that makes sense. Or at least that's how I feel. You sought validation from others. Again, you know what? I am starting to see a pattern. I think this has been in almost every one of my episodes. I have a lot of trauma from what happened to me and things that I saw my mom do and my aunts and uncles do, how they treated each other, how they acted when they were under the influence. But a lot happened to me with my cousins, and I didn't realize that. They hurt my feelings a lot. And I remember trying to do things around them to make them like me more, and it didn't matter. It didn't matter if I had more things and I was like, here, I got this new, you want to share, or you want me to let you use it? I have new Barbies, you want to play with them? It was always like, oh, look, she's showing off. And that was never the case. I just wanted them to play with me, and they didn't want to. And then when they would play with me, they wanted all like my really good stuff. And then I remember saying, well, okay, you can have one of the new ones, but I want this one. And then they'd say like, oh, forget it, I don't want to play with you anymore. Like, I remember that, but it happened all the time. And I know kids have that. Like, I'm pretty sure my daughter does that with her sister, and my other daughter does it to her brother. But I remember it hurting. I remember my feelings really being hurt. I know I used to try really hard to be like the perfect child, because if I was, maybe my grandmother wouldn't leave so much. She used to have to leave to do things for other people who were addicts, and they were adults. And I was a child who needed her grandmother / mom. But because I was such a good kid and I was told this all the time, I still get told this till this day, and it drives me insane. It's okay that you're good. You don't need our attention. We don't have to worry about you. That doesn't mean that I don't want your attention. That doesn't mean that I don't need your attention. That doesn't mean that I don't want you around. I don't necessarily need you to do things for me, but your presence would have been nice. But I didn't get that. So I always thought that if I did better in school, or if I got on honor roll, she would be there. She was there for my honor roll ceremony. She was there for my choir concerts, but she wasn't there for any of my cheerleading competitions or football games on Fridays where we would perform, or she wasn't there for any of that. And that really sucked, because when you see everybody else's parents there, whether it's one parent or both parents, or even grandparents or aunts and uncles, cousins, brothers, sisters, I didn't have any of that. And you kind of build this shell where it's just like, But the first few times it really hurts. After a while, it is what it is. As an adult, you never allow yourself to be, let me see the list better. Oh no, why did it do that? Okay, as an adult, you never allow yourself to be vulnerable. Oh, okay, example. I stopped talking about myself to anyone because every time I did, one way or another, I would be told I was wrong, bad. I didn't share feelings, needs, wants, opinions, ideas, plans, or things that happened to me. No one noticed. You know what? So, in the beginning of me being more vocal about how I felt or what I was going through, at first I was told by family members, like, why do you talk about that? Why are you putting that out there? You're putting a lot of your personal business out there. You shouldn't do that. And then I would think, well, why? Like, I want to help people, and I want to see if other people could understand me or feel the way that I feel, or, even have my feelings validated. And I was always made to feel like there was something wrong with me for doing that. And then I even had friends, I really don't associate myself with them now, where they would tell me, like, why are you talking about that? Or that's too much. Or why don't you create another Instagram for that? Or you talk about this too much. Or you're whining, or you're complaining, or what else? So there were times that I just stopped doing it, and then I would get messages from other people asking, like, I don't see you that much on Instagram anymore, or you don't post as much as you used to, like, are you okay? Is everything fine? And then I would tell them, like, well, it's because some people were saying that I, like, do a lot of whining and complaining. And the best part of that is people started telling me, like, they're hating. I didn't look at it as somebody was hating. Like, it didn't even hit me that way at all. And they're like, they're just hating on you because they can't do it. And if it's not because they can't do it, they're just bothered that you're doing it because it's something they wouldn't do. And then I thought to myself, why does somebody else care about something that they wouldn't do if I want to do it for me? It's not them. I don't know. I don't have the answer to that. I still don't understand it. It's really annoying, to be honest. Yeah. Yeah, that really sucks. Okay. You weren't told you were loved. Okay, so... Oh... I wasn't. I wasn't. I don't remember being told I love you without me saying it first. As a child. Dude. My grandmother now in her old age says it to me all the time. My mom, since she's been sober, says it to me all the time. And I love it. I take it. Oh my God, I love it. My sister-in-law says it to me all the time. My kids say it to me all the time. And you would think that that's enough. But when I stop and I think about being a child and growing up and never hearing it, that hurts. Oh, I didn't want to cry. That hurts. Imagine being this little kid and just waiting for someone to say it. Just, if I don't say it today, is someone gonna say it to me? And then you don't hear it at all from nobody. From nobody. And I wonder if my cousins had that issue as well. Because as adults, my cousins and I say I love you to each other all the time now. And by cousins, I mean the ones that I do get along with and talk to, who have apologized to me, or I've apologized to them for just who we were as children or teenagers or whenever we hurt each other. But we say it to each other. And I don't even know if we say it to our parents. I say it to my mom because she says it to me all the time. I say it to my Aunt Madeline because she says it to me all the time. My grandfather still doesn't say it, and this is the man who raised me. I'll say like, te quiero mucho, I love you a lot, and he's like, oh, okay, yeah, and that's it. That's just who he's always been, and I don't want to make excuses. You just get used to it. I've had a lot of men in my past tell me that they love me. But I always looked at it as, do you love me or do you love what I can do for you? Because I am a codependent and I'm an enabler, and I'm definitely working on all of those things. I'm not as bad as I used to be, but that was always my question to myself. So anytime they would say it, I really wouldn't believe it. But just when I stopped to think about it, I feel bad for the little girl. For me as a little girl. That's heartbreaking. That's really sad. Okay, let's go to the next one. You apologize for everything. Holy cow. Do you do that? I'm getting better. Way better, actually, compared to how bad I used to be. I've had my friend like Giselle and my friend Michelle, and I think even Annabelle used to tell me, stop apologizing for being yourself. And stop explaining yourself, because not everybody needs an explanation and not everybody deserves an explanation. And that's that's really hard. See, that's another thing I want to look up. Like, why do I apologize for everything? I think there was a time also when I was younger that I would give my opinion and I'd get yelled at or I'd get in trouble. And it was, you know, like if I was giving my mom an opinion on how she was not a fit mother when we were younger. And I mean, I was like 13 telling her like, you should have never had kids and you don't deserve us. And I would tell my grandma all the time, stop enabling your kids. Like, stop. They're grown-ups. Like, how are they going to learn to do for themselves if you don't make them do for themselves? But as I got older, I started to realize that I think she had a lot of guilt as well, because her children experienced a lot of trauma as well because of her choices as a parent. And she allowed what she allowed because of the trauma that she endured as a child. So like, it's just that vicious cycle. Someone has to break it. And I'm the lucky one in my family. I have maybe one other cousin that I could like really deep down think about that thinks a lot like me, actually. We like totally get each other when it comes to how we talk about things. But apologizing for everything is something I also need to work on because it's not healthy at all. I felt invisible. I sure did. My mom was on drugs, so she didn't want me. And she couldn't stop them to get me back and be a mom, so that was hard. My grandmother loved me and took care of me, but I very much felt like I was a burden because she still had to take care of her kids. My grandfather would acknowledge me sometimes. He was really nice. We would eat dinner together. We would watch shows together on Saturday nights. We'd watch Sábado Gigante, and I'd watch novelas with my grandmother. And we would have special moments and special times, but there was times that I wanted the attention and I needed it, and there was nobody there. And I definitely always wanted it from my mom, but at a certain point, I accepted that I wasn't going to get it anymore, but that doesn't mean that I didn't want it anymore. So we are already at 37 minutes. So, excuse me. I feel like I'm extremely congested, so my allergies are not doing well. I have some things I have to get done before I pick up my kids for their therapy session. Because I decided to have kids while I was healing, and I'm kind of messed them up a little bit too. But don't forget to like, to subscribe, to share, to leave a comment. Give me your opinions, give me your thoughts. Let me know what you want to talk about next week. Let me know if you want to talk more about this, if you want to talk more about certain topics, bullet point sections. Just let me know. I am definitely open to any suggestions. Be safe, be kind, be understanding, and be open-minded. I hope everyone has an amazing rest of their week, and I will see you next Wednesday.